So you may have heard, I don't know, that Mr. President Obama has endorsed your opponent. Do you think that helps or hurts your opponent?
Yeah, I fully expect that the president would be supporting Bill de Blasio. That's not a surprise at all.
Given all of the recent events that have taken place, do you think it helps or hurts de Blasio?
As days go on, you'll see my polls go up, and I expect to be victorious on November 5th.
Do you have a view on the Iranian diplomatic initiatives that the federal government, President Obama, has started?
Sure. I believe that diplomacy is only one aspect of the type of negotiations and pressure that we need to put on Iran. It needs to be a combination of both words as well as actions. So while the negotiations are going on and the diplomacy is going on with the new president of Iran, that alone is not enough. We still need to be as vigilant as we possibly can to protect the state of Israel.
Joe, as mayor, do you need a foreign policy as well as an economic and domestic policy?
I've been a New Yorker my whole life, and I think it goes back. Even Mayor Impellitteri, I think, was there when I was born, had a foreign policy. I think we are the capital of the world. We're the headquarters of the United Nations. And the mayor of New York has been always asked about various different initiatives all throughout the world. So the answer simply is yes.
It reminds me of when Rudy Giuliani was mayor and he barred Yasser Arafat from coming to this country. Do you see any similarities, like what you might want to do if you were mayor, to keep the head of Iran out of this country or the head of another terrorist country out of New York coming to the U.S.?
There's a world of difference between heads of state and Yasser Arafat, who was a murderer. I mean, the comparison between the two is just not fair, not right, not correct. He was a murderer, plain and simple.
In terms of foreign policy, do you see any significant differences between you and your Democratic opponent? In terms of foreign policy that you just were talking about?
Sorry. We do have very, very different political philosophies, especially, in light of what my views are as to, how our economy works, how he believes our economy works. I think that probably transfers over into foreign policy, but it's not one that we've had a debate on. I mean, it's pretty obvious we think very, very differently about the way the governments of the world should work and the way the people should interact with their government.
Mr. Lhota, can I ask you, 2 trips that Mr. de Blasio took, one to Cuba, the other, I guess, to Nicaragua. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, look, as I said, Bill and I have very, very different philosophies overall, and I believe his philosophies are coming throughout this campaign. I mean, it is very, very important that we focus on things that will move our economy forward. I believe actions taken like the Sandinistas, who were fighting Americans as well as capitalism, was absolutely not the right thing to do during the Cold War. Going to Cuba illegally is never a good thing in this country. I actually believe that his point of view on the world and my point of view on the world are contrasting different. And I've said all along we will be able to contrast our points of view. One perfect example is last week where he said, very proudly said, but erroneously I believe, said that he would not have allowed the food company, Fresh Direct, to actually move from Queens to the Bronx with the subsidies necessary. Here's what he's saying. Take the 1,000 jobs and send them to New Jersey, because that's where Fresh Direct was going. The only way to deal with income inequality in the city is by expanding our job base, not decreasing our job base. We as New Yorkers have to do everything to expand and diversify our economy so that it allows us an opportunity to grow. By growing and creating jobs is how you deal with income inequality, not on the peripheral level, not on suggestions of taxing folks over other folks. We do have a very, very different philosophy overall, and quite honestly, there are words that I don't like to use, but in his own words, he called himself a democratic socialist. It's really unfortunate that that's the level that we've come to in this city.
Do you think he's currently anti-capitalist?
Last week, 10 days ago in the Wall Street Journal, he actually said he thought the mayor of the city of New York needs to be a community organizer. He's done nothing to show his support for the business community of New York whatsoever. And I think that's indicative of his core political philosophy. You need to ask him what he is. I'm using his words, not my words, on that. And I think it's important for you to ask.
Thank you.
Lhota, do you think that Israel should sign or should ratify the chemical weapons convention?
Now we're getting into areas of foreign policy that are beyond my knowledge. So let me.
You're here for foreign policy.
No.
Should it be a fair question?
It is, and I gave you a fair answer. I need to get more information on it before I talk.
Joe, based on what you saw about Mr. de Blasio's past, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but what concerns do you have about what his positions will be for the future of New York City specifically?
No, I think, regardless of what's in the paper today, Bill has always been espousing ideas. He'll talk about a tale of two cities. He'll talk about income inequality. The way you deal with income inequality is expanding the job base in New York, diversifying our economy. And it's very, very important that we do that. And I gave as an example, what his statements were about Fresh Direct. Fresh Direct was going to leave Queens, go to New Jersey. The Governor Cuomo, Mayor Bloomberg, the borough president, Diaz, and the Bronx all came together, unified, to be able to allow Fresh Direct to come up to the Bronx, to give jobs to the people of the Bronx who need jobs. Instead, my opponent has said, you know what, I wouldn't have done it. They would have gone to New Jersey, and with that, 1,000 very good paying jobs would have gone to New Jersey. And that's what mayors shouldn't be talking about. Mayors should be really doing everything they can to support the city of New York, not reversing and going in a different direction.
Thank you.
So every time the president comes to the city, it's basically guaranteed gridlock across the city. Is there anything that the mayor can do?
Look, this has been going on since I was a young child when presidents would come. The city of New York coordinates very, very closely with the Secret Service. We need to make sure that when the president comes here, we are the capital of the world. And as a capital world leaders will come here, including the President of the United States. The best thing we can do is communicate with the public what streets will be closed, what streets will be available to be open, so that people know ahead of time how to be able to move within the city of New York. Keeping us mobile is the most important thing. All right.
Jonathan J. Pollard?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a view on Jonathan J. Pollard and whether he should be released in any way early from his term?
I very much believe that Jonathan Pollard, we should open up again the case and determine how long he should stay in prison. All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you.